Everything surrounding Dragon Age Veilguard has been hilarious because leading up to launch, we were told we're just haters for criticizing the game. But after release, we saw the media coping and seething over the fact that it was a spectacular failure and it underperformed. And Bioware, of course, had to lay off most of their employees because it was such a massive loss for them. And at the beginning of the month, we found out that it was going on to PlayStation Plus and people were going to be able to play it that way. But now it seems that they're going to be putting it onto Xbox Game Pass in another desperate attempt to get players in game. But before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, this game was a disaster from start to finish. I had covered it before launch, I've covered it after release, and I live streamed a full playthrough on the channel, and I did not like it. It felt like a modernized young adult Dragon Age. You had tons of modern day terminology in this title, like transgender, non-binary. You had top surgery scar toggles, you chose your pronouns, and then you had characters within this game who did not feel humanistic in any way, shape, or form. They just kind of felt like walking billboards for certain sexualities, like Tosh. For example, the only reason Tosh exists is to push the fact that they are a non-binary individual and you need to respect them, or else you are a terrible person. And with the Veilguard's launch, of course, it didn't seem like many people even gave it a chance because they said that they engaged 1.5 million players. They never specified sales. The only information we've gotten in that regard is that it underperformed. It was a loss for them, which isn't particularly shocking when you have a franchise like Dragon Age that was known for being kind of dark and edgy and adult and mature, and then you've turned it into like a young adult modern day snooze fest. Not good. But at the beginning of March, we found out that it was going on to PlayStation Plus, which seemed fair enough. They haven't gotten the sales that they expected. They're desperate to get people in game. They want to try to pump up their numbers in any way that they possibly can. But it looks like they are going to continue that because they are now seemingly adding it to PC Game Pass. So starting with this Game Pressure article, it says Dragon Age the Veilguard and EA Sports FC25 may soon be coming to Game Pass, at least on PC. The latest RPG from Bioware has already made its way to the competing subscription PlayStation Plus at the beginning of March, and Electronic Arts now aims for Dragon Age the Veilguard to also be accessible on the service for Xbox and PCs. As noted by players via Xbox Era, a card for the Veilguard appeared in the Microsoft Store app as part of the PC Game Pass. The same applies for EA Sports FC25. In both cases, versions for the console subscription of the giant from Redmond aren't visible. The fact that both games will sooner or later hit the Xbox Game Pass was a sure thing. Of course, I don't think that this was ever a shocking development to hear that, oh, it's going on to PlayStation Plus, or oh, it might be going on to Xbox Game Pass, because EA Play is currently part of the Xbox Game Pass catalog. But what is shocking is the time that has passed. This game only launched on Halloween of 2024, so you would think that it would be like a year before it went on to these services. I mean, look at something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, major failure, lost hundreds of millions of dollars, total flop, but that took a full year to go on to PlayStation Plus. So you'd think that this would have taken a little bit longer, because once it goes onto these services, companies are basically no longer making money on it because you can easily access it in a way that is cheaper. You could finish this in 2 weeks if you wanted, so you could just pay for one single month and then you could play it and then cancel your subscription, right? So you could do that easily. So they try their best to kind of draw out the amount of time before something goes onto a service like this, because look at me, for example, I pay for Xbox Game Pass. I have for years at this point. So they are not making specifically any money off of me because I'm already an existing subscriber. I'm not signing up specifically for this game, so it's not like I'm boosting this game's numbers really. So it's kind of viewed as just a last-ditch effort to try to get players in game. And after only 4 months, or it's not technically on there, so probably 5, maybe 6 months, that does not scream success, at least in my opinion. Not that I think we expected this to ever be deemed a success by anybody ever again. The only time it was leading up to launch when the mainstream media was saying it's going to do well. Oh my gosh, the pre-orders are amazing, even though we never saw any solid pre-order numbers. But on PC, I mean, there's basically nobody playing it anymore. Maybe they finally said to themselves, you know what, we just need to get it in as many people's hands as possible. Maybe we can make a few extra bucks. But the all time peak at launch was 89,418, which still is not good when you consider the legendary studio Bioware putting out a game. You would think that this would be well over 100K, and it's not. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed Shadows 2. You'd think for Assassin's Creed it would be doing amazing on Steam, and that didn't even hit 70K over release weekend. But in game right now is 2,309, which, hey, games come and games go. When a single player game launches, people play it, they put the time into it, and then they drop off. These are probably people who just haven't, gotten a chance to play it until now. I do know that it is also on sale on Steam right now. They're trying to give it to you at the lowest price possible. They are currently selling it for 50% off at $30. Still not worth that, in my opinion. But when you look at all of these different factors that do not look positive, I mean, it just seems that they had no other choice but to try to put it on another service to pump up the numbers in any way that they possibly can. And I had just talked about this yesterday. The video will be linked down below, but we also know that they just added a free DLC to Veilguard. It's a weapons pack, so they were trying to seemingly give that away to people. I don't know if they always had planned to put that out around a deep discount, or maybe when it is launching on PlayStation Plus and potentially Game Pass, and they thought maybe that would be a way to market the release. I don't know. It seems stupid, in my opinion, to hold back content that you could have just put out months ago. But regardless, they did just put out this DLC pack. Nobody's talking about it because nobody even knew it happened. Like, most of the mainstream media is not covering it. Most gamers are not talking about it because they've moved on from this game. And now we're hearing that apparently it's going to go on Game Pass. Now, it is not up on Game Pass currently, so of course, take everything with a grain of salt. But there is the Game Pass listing, so I do think that it is pretty inevitable that it is going to be on there relatively soon. Now, what will be interesting is when it finally goes on to Game Pass, how the mainstream media will cover it. Will they say it's actually amazing for players that it's on Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and everybody can play it now till their heart's content? Or will they admit that they're really only doing this because they're desperate, because EA and Bioware had such a massive flop on their hands? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them to completely ignore the truth and continue to try to push an agenda so they can keep having access from these major companies and keeping them happy so they don't lose their early access to things. But as of right now, it seems that this is going to be coming to Game Pass relatively soon. It's on PlayStation Plus, and even though you can basically get it for free if you already pay for these services, I don't think that it's really a game people should put their time into because it makes a mockery of the older Dragon Age games and basically just spits in the faces of existing nostalgic fans because it is a total and complete reimagining of what Dragon Age was. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.